second. Let me try that again. Now we're unmuted, so now you can actually hear something. Welcome. I hope you like the new intro music. It looks like chat was talking about it. Holly says she wants to walk down the aisle to it if she gets married again. That'd be an energetic walk. My name is Rory, and I'm here with Avalon. And Avalon, I like your background. There's like mystery to it. I guess a map just speaks mystery to me.
Yeah, this is from IKEA.
The legendary mysteries of IKEA.
And there's actually some geographical errors on it, so...
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you got to tell us at least one.
So I don't think the map makers understood that Slocan and Spokane are two different places. Only one of them's on the map, and it's in the wrong spot. So.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I think I'm actually gonna pump your volume up a bit there. All right. You have no control over that. Oh, that's old me.
Okay.
Okay. GS says, hi, Rory and Avalon. Hello, GS, and hello, Holly. And we have several others watching. If you want, you can join in the chat. And also, happy, I guess, early Halloween. I know for some people, like, this is not their favorite time of year. It is... I don't know if it's my favorite time of year. It was more when I was a kid. I used to go all in on costumes. I'd spend all month making them. Because I knew how to sew and stuff, so I went really hardcore on it. How are you with Halloween, Avalon?
Well, I think I enjoyed it when I was younger because, you got a lot of candy and got to go out all night with your friends. But I really don't enjoy really scary movies. I have quite an overactive imagination, and I just don't enjoy being scared. I like like a good ghost story. Something that's like maybe more of a more eerie or mystery focused. That's all fine. But a lot of these horror movies that are just terrifying, I can't handle. So I don't like that aspect.
What is the movie like? Because I feel like there's three classes of horror. Like, so there's like fun, there's just gross, and then there is genuinely terrifying, which can be gross, but sometimes isn't. So like, what's a movie you like from the fun side of things on a horror scale?
Hocus Pocus.
Oh yeah.
Great movie. I think that's super fun.
It's darker than I remember it being. I watched it last year and I was like, this is a pretty dark movie.
Yeah, but like it's I think too, like with horror movies, like a lot of them, I don't find that they're actually rewatchable. Like the whole point is that they're just terrifying and there's these scares, and then like not that much time is spent on the story or characters or like entertainment. So it's just, you're watching a movie just to feel terrified and have nightmares, and
right.
not really into that.
So I will the last like serious horror thing I watched, which is actually something I will recommend that people watch, sort of, which is The Haunting of Hill House. Now I've seen the original Haunting movie. It was one of my mother's favorites, and I think I read at least part of the original book, which was also good. Holy crap. Did that scare the hell out of me. It was a miniseries on Netflix. It's still obviously a miniseries on Netflix. It didn't help that I watched it. I think I've mentioned this maybe even on stream before. I watched it on the Hallows Eve in a hotel in Edmonton because I was out there for work and there's nothing else to do in October in Edmonton. So I watched it there, which definitely wasn't a great move, but I don't think it was as bad as when I tried to watch some of it at home, because the thing that Haunting of Hill House is so brilliant at is it makes banal things in your house forebearers of terrible doom. Like whether a door is open or not, or did I leave that light on? Like it's a lot of little things like that, and some of them get addressed by the main characters. And sometimes you're just watching that and you're like, wait a minute, that statue's looking at us now. Nobody notices it. Like it's robed with stuff like that. And what it does is I remember at one point I was watching it in my living room where I am now, and there's a couch, and then over there is a bathroom that has a door that opens. And I watched a scene where they did the I thought this door was shut or open or something like that. And I looked over, and I swear to God, I was like, I thought I'd left that bathroom door open. Like it just makes you terrified of your own house. But the thing, here's my last point, and I'll shut up about it. The thing that's amazing about it is a really, really effective and brilliant metaphor for trauma on a family level. And by the last like 3 episodes, there's barely anything to be scared of, frankly, which is a problem with any horror that tries to tell a story, I find. But those first 5 episodes were scarring. Brilliant, but scarring.
Yeah, I think I'll give that one a pass. That sounds far too scary.
Yeah,
and,
it's pretty bad.
And the thing about those kinds of movies too is it's okay, so that you're actually watching it, and then that's scary. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's more so a week later if I'm by myself at home, and everything will have been fine, and then all of a sudden my brain will be like, hey, remember that really terrifying thing you saw in that movie? I bet that's under the bed. And then that's all I can think about. And it happens often enough that it's just, you know what, this is just not for me. It's not worth it. I'll stick to my short pre-approved list of movies that I watch every Halloween that I have deemed acceptable, and leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. I remember watching, I don't even know if UPN 11 is still a channel, but I remember when I was younger, I watched UPN 11 for the entire month of October. They would play after a certain hour of the day. Really bad sequels to old 80s slasher flicks and stuff like that. And those were fun. I don't really remember being scared by a lot of them. And I'm not a particularly strong person when it comes to being scared. Yeah. Anyways, do you have a book that you would like to recommend before we get going?
I do. It's actually because I know that we have other things on the agenda, so I'm just going to combine 5 books into one recommendation. Because it's basically 2 trilogies that are all by the same author, and they're related. And the reason I have said 5 books and then 2 trilogies is because the 6th and last book hasn't actually been written yet. It's supposed to come out next year, but it's the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown. And so I'm reading the 5th book, which is called Dark Age. Here it is for everyone. So the first 3 books are the Red Rising trilogy, and it's Red Rising, Golden Sun, and Morning Star. And it's basically like a Roman historical mythological epic, but in the future in space. So it's a science fiction series, and it's basically about this one, our protagonist, who is from Mars, and at this point in humanity's future, we have colonized all the planets and created this really rigid hierarchical class system that is categorized by color and categorized by essentially what you provide to the society. And so eventually, like all rigid class structures, this one becomes untenable and oppressive and all of the horrible things that tyrannical regimes become. And so our protagonist basically leads an uprising. The first 3 books detail that. And then the second series takes place 10 years later, where it's sort of looking at what happens in the aftermath of the events of the first 3 books. But it's fantastic, huge, amazing world building, really dynamic group of characters, lots of commentary on, the fragility of our institutions, and it just borrows so much from Roman and Greek history and mythology in a way that doesn't feel clumsy or shoehorned in or too tongue-in-cheek, but like in a way that actually makes sense. So definitely recommend it.
Very cool. That's so like you to recommend like 6 books. Me and Felix come on here and like he'll recommend a movie maybe, and I'll be like, here's a book I read 8 years ago. It's one of the 10. I've read more books than I let on, but the problem is a lot of them are for university. So there's like I'm not going to recommend textbooks and old literary criticism books and stuff like this. But it sounds like a very cool book. Which means that we are going to roll. My God, we do talk, don't we? I don't know how we ate 15 minutes already. Thanks for your patience, chat. If we've lost people, it's fair. Litgames tonight. It's not even really a game. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what happened here, and then you and Avalon and everybody is going to help me out. Because I know that title's a little bit confusing of the video. Alright. Nathan says Rory always recommends critique of pure reason. I just want to make clear for the record. I know 95% of people have no idea what that means. But for the 5% that do, I will never recommend Immanuel Kant. Never.
That's probably for the best.
Yes, it is. yes, it is. Okay, so I'm just gonna read you a little note that I've found in my my notebook recently. I wrote it there after I woke up in a bunch of dirt. Here's what it says. I am writing down what I can recall in my notebook before more slips away from me. I was out for a hike in a gully near my house. I didn't know this, but apparently there was once an art center of some sort here. I don't know for sure really what it is. There were the remains of a stone fence about it and the stains of rusted razor wire, but it had crumbled away. The building itself was wound with ivory white vines with flush pink leaves. Every surface of the strange plant was sprung with thin glass spines that caught the sunlight and burned my skin where it touched. Inside was a lobby surprisingly preserved. There were stains of water damage and a smell of musk, but otherwise it was a rich interior with velour couches, flanking a painting that faced the door. I took a photo of the painting, then I woke up wounded before it in the dead of the night. I've only a memory of fear and pain. The details are a smear in my mind. Truthfully, I don't even really remember writing this. But I was trying to figure out what happened. I'm going to show you guys a picture of the painting I found. And I thought chat could help me recall, and Avalon here can help me recall what happened after I looked at this picture in this abandoned art gallery. So let me just pull that up. Do you have any early thoughts here, Avalon?
Well, it sounds very ominous.
Who doesn't black out on a hike? This was the painting that was up in the surprisingly well-preserved lobby of the abandoned art gallery in the gully by my house. That was surrounded by... It was very weird vines I've never seen before. They were pale. They kind of had flush pink leaves. They reminded me a bit of Skin, which was weird. It's definitely not Skin, but they were kind of vines. They breathed a bit.
Well, whenever you encounter strange plants, those can always have an interesting effect on you.
Yeah.
That's a terrifying painting.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that. It definitely has more of an impact when you're alone in a forest in an abandoned art gallery.
That's fair.
One of the first things I do remember, which is, it's all very vague, is the painting moved. I don't know, like, what are some things you think might happen if that painting started moving, chat? Maybe it'll help trigger some memories here. Let me pull that back up.
Well, if the painting started moving and I was in some abandoned art center in a gully, I'd probably pee my pants.
Yeah, that's true. I did wake up with some urine in my pants. So let me just get that down, because that's sort of starting to come back to me here.
Holly's saying that painting looks like how I feel right now.
Aww.
I'm sorry, Holly. that's too bad.
No, that's too bad. I hope you feel better by watching our incredibly believable setup in frame here. Okay. So, now that I recall a bit, when I saw the painting, it began, well, not exactly move, but it began to breathe a bit. And yes, you're right, Nathan. The vines were quivering. That's right. The painting, it began to breathe. And with it, the vines... what's the word I'm looking for here? It's like a word for... This is the one problem with Litgames. One problem with Litgames is when you get stuck on a word, I can't be pulling up Google in the middle of it, which is absolutely what I do.
Just jump to the next word, and it'll come to you.
Let's say vines began. Well, I'm gonna say pulsate, but that's not really what I think they were doing.
Oh, the Triffids. That was an excellent book. I never saw the movie. It's by oh my gosh, I have one of his books on my shelf. He wrote The Midwich Cuckoos and a whole bunch of stuff. It was The Day of the Triffids.
Honestly, this sounds like Monty Python skits to me. I genuinely don't know them.
John Wyndham. John Wyndham. He wrote a whole bunch of sci-fi books. I think in the 60s. I want to say, maybe earlier than that. He wrote The Chrysalids, which I think a lot of people had to read in high school. The Day of the Triffids, I think is probably my favorite of his books. And the premise was basically that there was this like meteor shower, I think, that caused everyone looking at it to go blind, and they had created these like carnivorous plants called triffids, and basically after most of humanity went blind, the triffids started hunting people.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good book. Like it's been a while since I read it. Yeah, he wrote a whole bunch of sort of sci-fi kind of books in the 50s and 60s. Holly says, I think if painting started moving, the first thing you would do is convince yourself it was not moving. Yes.
Yeah, she was absolutely correct. I did see that, and I'm just typing that in now.
And then GS says the vines turned to the painting as it began to come alive. And Jumanji plants. Yep. The fast moving vines. So maybe the vines also start growing a little bit, or perhaps starting to flood the space.
Do you wanna add on that? I said aloud. Yeah, aloud to no one in particular. Oh my God.
So perhaps as you're watching the paint, maybe when you were watching the painting to see if it had actually moved out of your peripheral vision, you could sort of see, maybe you saw the vines starting to move closer.
This sounds familiar. I did notice that I had phoned you several times in the night. I don't remember any of those calls, so maybe I had ranted some of those towards you. If you remember any of it, why don't you add in what you remember what I said about the vines? I will admit I don't recall. The vines turned to the painting as it became. I'll tell you guys what you've helped me recall so far. Now that I recall a bit, when I saw the figure in the painting, when I saw the painting, the figure in it. Oh my God. I've been doing this for how many months, and still. When I saw the painting, the figure in it began to breathe, and with it the vines began to pulsate. My pant leg became at once warm, then cooled, as the stream ran to the floor. You're a painting, and I refuse to believe you're breathing. It's simply the breeze, I said aloud to no one in particular. Are you in the dock?
I am now.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I will add in...
You'll add in what you were saying there, yeah.
Yeah.
They're telling me this is a very scary book. The Day of the Triffids. Was the painting of Vigo the Carpathian? Honestly, Big Drew, I don't know. Did Vigo the Carpathian start breathing when you got near it? If so, I hope it is, because if it's not, there's more than one. Big Drew says Jumanji plants. Oh my God, those plants were terrifying. Mm-hmm. And those little needles that they had, I felt those needles every time they hit. Man, there's a lot of chat here today. Okay, lots of reaction. Yeah, disturbing painting. Holly 1408 is wonderful. Rory, that's quite the exciting fever dream. I mean, I think it was a fever dream, but I also woke up with most of my toenails missing. So I don't think it was just a dream. If it is, it was so compelling that I did it to myself, I guess, as possible. If there was that's a reference to Ghostbusters 2. Mm-hmm. Guys, are you making light of my terrifying experience of a hike? If there was an underground, a river of angry slime. Yeah, that's right. The slime in Ghostbusters 2. And let me just say, guys, I mean, I've learned my lesson. I am definitely not gonna hike back there 3 more times this month to see more paintings. That is definitely not a thing I'm gonna do. So don't worry. From here forward, it's all Christmas content. Christmas and I'm looking for bets from chat. Okay, here's what I want you to bet on in chat. Will we finish in an hour? Right now, I have us at about 32 minutes, but we've only been going for about 30. So will we wrap this in 30 minutes? I want to see who wins this. So I'm taking bets on that. That's my first bet. Round of bets. And by bet, I mean, say I bet you will or won't. I mean, Big Drew, I did get it. So for anybody who doesn't know in chat, I'm actually think I might have a genuine mental problem with names. So names don't trigger memories to me. I basically have to look up every name, including in my own books, by the way. I don't remember the names of my own characters for the most part. Okay, Gia says no, betting against us. I want to see if anyone bets in our favor, frankly. You know, as you're typing this, it is sort of coming back to me. I'm seeing the vines. I'm starting to realize maybe I don't want it to come back to me.
Sounds pretty terrifying.
Well, you know. It was.
Is there anything else that you remember?
Well, let's see. I do remember that at some point, I definitely was not in that room. I know that I shifted areas. Not sure how I shifted areas. But I shifted areas. I'm curious if chat has any idea of where I might have gone or how I got there. What did you have down here? You said, in my peripheral vision, I could sense, rather than see, the vines drawing closer, seemingly moving closer each time I blinked. Ooh, good creep. I turned my gaze to watch the vines, which held themselves stubbornly still, but then something gray and white drifted near the side of my face. I stumbled backwards, and falling onto the dusty floors, the vines and paintings were cloaked in gloom, but there were shadows. Shadows flickering in the pale light of the moon through a cracked window. Okay. Well, I think for sure, upon reading that, whoops. Looking at the wrong cursor. Shadows flickering the pale. See, like, I thought they were shadows. I do remember the shadows. The thing is, though, and correct me if I'm alone in this, Avalon, shadows tend not to have A, no source, B, A, no source, like to cast.
Oh, well, that sounds terrible.
Yes, and these ones definitely didn't have a source. So I'm glad to see that experience is universal. But the other thing is, B, no, like, substance, let alone gripping cold strength.
You're okay.
So, they, you know, I don't know, maybe other people have other experiences with shadows, but what I do remember is the shadows with no source slipped across my body, chilling every inch to numbness.
Well, maybe this is when you found yourself in a different location because you were trying to escape these insidious sounding shadows.
All right, and through me into the vines.
I also want to add that Big Drew has said that your Christmas content would include psychopathic murder elves, a criminally insane Santa, a robotic Mrs. Claus, and 8 mutant reindeer.
And if I ever hear from Dana again, she might even be able to work Elon Musk in.
Yeah, definitely.
I know Spencer was saying that she was in the other chat, but I don't have it anymore. Because I do get questions from chat about her. Is she doing okay? Do you know?
I think so. I haven't heard a lot from her. I think she's going through a lot of life stuff right now.
That was my understanding, yeah. But she is alive and well.
Yes.
And she does not hate you. You guys, or anything like that. She's just been very busy. We actually had a plan for something we were going to do, and then life came at her. Chilling every inch to numbness, then grasped my throat and threw me into the vines. The many spines grated into my flesh, and I felt as a rabbit sliding into the throat of a wolf.
Ooh, that sounds very ominous.
Except doing the worst thing you're doing writing. Except the throat was the painting.
Oh man, you're gonna go into the painting. Well,
I realized
you did right before you jumped into the painting. Well, I think you had
I didn't jump in. I got dragged in by the vines.
Rory.
Don't put this on me.
Dragged into the painting. I think that you had just accidentally phoned me and then let the phone just go because I had a very long voice message.
Oh dear.
With a lot of shouting and weird squelching sounds, and then just clattering, and then silence.
Well, I don't remember silence. The screaming continued, but I'm assuming not in this realm. I realize the pale limbs of the figure in the painting had joined in forcing me towards the void. Do you remember anything I screamed as I was doing this? Because I don't.
I think you screamed, "No, not the frame."
Okay.
And
no, not the frame? Okay, no, not the frame. Like, was I worried that the frame would get damaged, or?
Yeah, I think that you were concerned that if anything happened to the frame, you may not be able to get back out of the painting.
Oh, I see.
See, it seemed like there was a bit of a portal going on there, and it was your only way back out.
The canvas seemed, I'm remembering now, the canvas seemed more so an immaterial portal strung between a runic frame, a runic carved frame. Yet the vines and shadows were crumbling it in. Big Drew says these shadows sound like a much less whimsical representation of the spirits controlled by the Shadow Man in the Disney's The Princess and the Frog.
I haven't seen that movie, so
it's a good movie.
I can only guess. And Nathan raises, I think, a very salient point that at this point he would be worried he was still in the painting, which fair, absolutely. don't think anyone wants to go into that painting.
Well, it's interesting.
Particularly because it looks like it's a box.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much room you'd really have with that other person in there.
So this is this is where it gets a little more memorable to me because, well, I mean, I'll just sort of tell you it as I remember it. The thing that caught my attention for the most part was that the pale hands of the figure had the consistency of a
Jello.
Yeah, sort of like of a cold, sticky, plasticky Jello. A cold, gelatinous ooze, if you will. And that ooze began to wrap about the limbs it gripped. As it ran its cold and tight path
Great.
encircling me, I noticed it made my body resemble the figure in the painting. As the ooze crawled away from that figure, though, it began to reveal a milky-eyed, thin, half-rotted figure of a human.
Oh dear. I wonder what happened to that human. How did they get into the painting?
Well, I don't know everything, Avalon. Jesus. I just got dragged into a painting by vines. They didn't explain themselves.
Well, I wonder, because after I received all those disturbing phone calls, I started to do some research about this painting.
Okay.
And it's actually popped up several times as with a different name and a different artist, and there are slight differences, but they're all curiously similar. And every time that it pops up somewhere, someone disappears. So
the question is, why didn't I? I mean, if it got me that far, why didn't I disappear?
Yeah, that is the question. Why didn't you? Because here you are telling us about this. The other curious thing about the painting is that those who are responsible for showings or really have been in any way affiliated with the painting are all very curiously silent about it, and has created a bit of a culture of silence around the painting where those who have been involved with it just don't say anything about it and then gradually disappear.
So do you think it's a good thing that I'm streaming about it or a bad thing?
I don't know, Rory. This might be one of those things that now that we've seen the painting, we're all in danger.
Well, GS said an interesting thing. She said, maybe I didn't escape. Maybe I'm not me. Well, if I'm not me, then who am I? Because I certainly carry the memories of me. Or don't.
Mm.
I mean, to that point, this is sort of one of the few things I do remember, and it might be one of the last, is that I felt, or I was forced by cold and tight and ooze, I guess is what we're calling it. Cold and tight ooze. To cower down into a box. The figure that once sat there dissolved to crumbled bones.
I can also add in the findings from my research, and that might help.
Go ahead.
Help you remember. Okay, I will add that as soon as you're done. Okay.
Well, that's about all I remember.
Okay, so I'll start adding in some of the research.
All right. Holly's House says there's no such thing as a painting making you disappear, Rory. No, I completely agree. It seems like the most absurd thing. No, it's just a painting of someone's feeling about going to work on Monday morning. Gina says. So, since, you know, this is all very grim, I wanted to ask people what, in chat, how do you guys feel about October and fall and Halloween? Is that your season or no? And if not, what's your favorite season? Or what's your favorite thing about October? Big Drew says, I'm not missing, but that painting is making me need to pee. Maybe its effect is different on everyone. Well, I already peed in this story. I definitely already peed. Yeah, for I remember one of my favorite Halloween costumes I ever made was I went as Neo from the Matrix, and I bought over the course of several weeks anything that resembled a leather belt from Value Village, and I strung it together to make a body harness out of it. I found might have borrowed my sister's, now that I think about it, trench coat, and I had like the sunglasses, and I had all these play guns and fake holsters and stuff, and I went as Neo from the Matrix in the year that it came out. The other one that I think was probably impressive to most people, especially for the age that I created it, was I went as a Borg from Star Trek, and I had a skull cap, and I remember I used a Batman like formed muscle foam chest for my chest, and I turned it that way. Nathan says it is absolutely my season. What's your favorite like thing to do during Halloween season, Nathan? Gia says because it's not hot. You know, it's still kind of hot to me. Yeah.
Freezing.
No, my partner's on your side for sure. Holly's House says my season is September to January. You know, as I've grown, I've become less and less precise about the seasons I like, I think. I will say this, though. I have never, and will never, like the seasons of January, February, and March. If I could, I would go into a medically induced coma for those 3 months of every year.
There.
Yeah. Those are the worst months of the year. Everything else, I have something I like about it. Big Drew says, I used this season to haunt my neighborhood vagabonds by dressing up as their recently deceased friends. Ooh, that's dark. The GS says, yes, fall. And
I like spring.
I do like spring. I mean, I was born in it, so that helps.
I like late spring is probably my favorite time of year.
All right. Do you want to tell us what your research found? It might help us here.
I didn't find too much, but I did find a little bit. So while you were sucked into this painting, or pulled into the painting by the vines, meanwhile the watchers stood guard outside the frame, slinking back into shadow. They had stood guard over the painting for centuries, though the newest to their ranks had joined in London after a special showing at the National Gallery. It was easiest to swell the ranks in plain sight. An art curator enthralled to a painting was nothing new, and that helped hide the often disappearances.
I'm glad to see someone else does stuff like that, where you will start one thought, change it midway, but not delete every word that was a part of it. I do that all the time. And I'll be like, Rory, I think that's probably all we're going to dig into, though. Like, I don't know what else happened, really. I also don't really know how long I was gone.
Well, I think you must have been found unworthy by the painting's inhabitant and sent back out. And
well, that's hurtful.
Oh, it's the only explanation for why you're still here.
Yeah. Maybe I should go ask it. Like, what's up?
What's wrong with me?
What do you think, chat? Do you think I should go this week? Check out... I mean, there might be other paintings there that can answer questions. I mean, I didn't mention this, but I keep shedding my skin each night, and I wake up a raw figure of what I once was, and then I think it's just dreams. So the skin is definitely coming off.
I think you could probably go back to the old art gallery there and see if you can find any other paintings.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that seems like the only wise thing to do.
Mm-hmm. We're all about wisdom on the Varietal. Big Truth says, here lies Rory, who was judged by a painting and found wanting.
Rory's not even good enough for a Demigorgon.
Yeah.
Well, guys, no, I'm going to go and ask them. I will say I definitely have had nothing but haunting, sucking nightmares. So, I mean, I got to figure out the rest of it. And maybe chat can help me over the next couple of weeks figure out some of the other things that happened. Because, honestly, I don't know if that was at all. Which I guess means we are back to... Well, typically we do unqualified advice here, but we don't have to do that unless you had advice you wanted to give. I don't really this week.
No, I think my only advice is to maybe not work a soul-sucking job that demands all of your time if you're also trying to be a writer, because I have not done any writing over the last couple of months, and it haunts me every day.
Well,
throws my entire definition of who I think I am into the abyss.
I feel that. Have you considered having no plan, quitting, and just living on savings? Because that's what I'm doing. Actually, that's not entirely true.
This whole working for a living is a racket.
It is. It is.
Am I just supposed to do this like until until I die or, I retire, which...
What retirement is coming to us? We're millennials. There's no retirement package.
No, like my dad retired 2 years ago, and my stepfather is retiring this year, and all I can think about is like, I am so jealous. Man.
I don't really want to retire, but I would like to be in a position where I could choose the work I do. Because there's a lot of things I would like to do. It's just not necessarily like help people sell socks or whatever, which is what people want me to do.
No, absolutely. Like I think if I, if I didn't have to worry about paying bills or, saving for retirement or any of the stuff that you have to think about in late stage capitalism, I would be doing a lot of other things. Absolutely. And yeah, I think I'm feeling extra frustrated about that right now.
Nathan says I have some pamphlets to send you.
Yeah, I think I enjoy material things too much to be a communist, but
a communist isn't anti-material. It just doesn't assign to the idea that that the best distribution of goods is just whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there are definitely images of what that translates to on the ground level that has a lot more to do with just basic poverty of a nation than it does with a particular ideology.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've always thought about this because they would always talk about bread lines and stuff like that. Man, if you go down to the downtown east side and that was the only thing you filmed of a capitalist society in Canada, and you were trying to make propaganda film for a communist area, you can make a pretty solid case of the depraved way that you live in capitalism, right? So, like, I imagine a similar thing is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nathan says that's why it's fully automated luxury gay space communism.
Yeah, I think I agree with GS's summation there that I am the painting. So
what?
That's certainly how I feel right now.
I like how this painting that has caused me terror and is a creature of horror in my life has become a joke to everybody to talk about their work. Listen, I'm sorry that your work isn't going great, but I was sucked into a painting with vines.
Honestly, Rory, that sounds better than my day. So I don't know what you're complaining about.
All right. I realized I did not read this back. So chat, I'm gonna read back. From the beginning of what I remember to what we wrote, and then I'm gonna ask Avalon a question I wanted to ask earlier, and then we'll call it. By the way, if you bet that we'd be done in an hour, depending on how you define done, you either won or just lost. Because we did finish the story in an hour. We are not done, and it is now officially over an hour. I'm writing down what I can recall in my notebook before more slips away from me. I was out for a hike in a gully near my house. I don't know this, but apparently there was once an arts center of some sort here. I don't know for sure really what it is. There were the remains of a stone fence about it and the stains of rusted razor wire, but it had crumbled away. The building itself was wound with ivory white vines with flush pink leaves. Every surface of the strange plant was sprung with thin glass spines that caught the sunlight and burned my skin where it touched. Inside was a lobby surprisingly preserved. There were stains of water damage and a smell of must, and otherwise it was a rich interior with velour couches flanking a painting that faced the door. I took a photo of the painting, then I woke up wounded before it in the dead of night. I have only a memory of fear and pain. The details are a smear in my mind. Now that I recall a bit, when I saw the painting, the figure in it began to breathe, and with it the vines began to pulsate. My pant leg became at once warm, then cooled as the stream ran down to the floor. You're a painting, and I refuse to believe you're breathing. It's simply the breeze, I said aloud to no one in particular. In my peripheral vision, I could sense rather than see the vines drawing closer, seemingly moving closer each time I blinked. I turned my gaze to watch the vines, which held themselves stubbornly still. But then something gray and white drifted near the side of my face. I stumbled backwards, falling onto the dusty floor. The vines in the painting were cloaked in gloom, but there were shadows. Shadows flickering in the pale light of the moon through a cracked window. The shadows with no source slipped across my body, chilling every inch to numbness, then grasped my throat and threw me into the vines. The many spines grated into my flesh, and I felt as a rabbit sliding into the throat of a wolf, except the throat was the painting. I realized the pale limbs of the figure in the painting had joined in forcing me towards its void. No, not the frame. The canvas seemed more so an immaterial portal strung between a runic carved frame, yet the vines and shadows were crumbling it in. I've written better sentences. The thing that caught my attention was that the pale hands of the figure had the consistency of cold gelatinous ooze, and the ooze began to wrap about the limbs it gripped. As it ran its cold and tight path encircling me, I noticed it made my body resemble the figure in the painting, and as the ooze crawled away from that figure, though, it began to reveal a milky-eyed thing, half-rotted figure of a human. A half-rotted figure of a human with a little M dash, and we pretend that it was intentional. I was forced by cold and tight ooze to cower down into a box. I should add, facing towards the door I had entered.
Rory, you can't just add stuff to the story.
Well, I'm remembering stuff. The figure that was once there. Dissolved to crumbled bones. I stared into nothing and could not breathe. Meanwhile, the watchers stood guard outside the frame, slinking back into the shadow. They had stood guard over the painting for centuries, according to Avalon, though the newest to their ranks had joined in London after a special showing at the National Gallery. It was easiest to swell the ranks in plain sight. An art curator enthralled to a painting was nothing new, and that helped hide the often disappearances. All right.
Well, that's quite the story. I wonder what will happen next time you go back to that art gallery.
All right. Yeah, I mean, obviously the wise thing to do is to both split up and go back to the gallery.
Okay. At night.
So I did this with Felix. This was the question I wanted to ask here. Which was I looked up online when somebody hasn't been here in a while. I look up online what questions are you supposed to ask a friend when you haven't seen them in a while. And my God, first of all, there's a lot of articles about this. A lot.
It's because we no longer know how to be friends.
The second thing that strikes me is how terrible they all are. They are all the most self-centered and terrible questions I've ever read. But this one particularly caught my eye. It's called 21 Questions to Ask a Girl That Will Blow Her Mind. So prepare to have your mind blown. There's 21 of them, and I'm not going to read all 21, obviously. But there was one that stood out to me, and you don't even have to answer it. I just wanted to figure out what the hell kind of question this is to ask anybody. Do you have any secret talents? I mean, again, from an article called 21 Questions to Blow Your Mind. Apparently this would blow your mind if a guy came up to you and said, do you have any secret talents?
I mean, like, is it going to blow my mind about how stupid a question I think it is? Because...
like, some of them are things like, how do you think your closest friends would describe you if you could live
job interview?
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? Like, they're not. These are like a half step above what's your major. I don't.
Yeah. What's your star sign?
So there you go. Do you have any secret talents? I don't.
Oh, what is my secret talent? I can put my when I'm sitting down, I can put my foot behind my head.
Really? I can do that.
I'm not going to do it right now.
No, that's okay. I can do that if I don't mind dislocating things.
No, I can do it.
Oh my god. My hips are so specifically tight they pull my kneecap off center sometimes. It's ruined my ability to bike. Okay.
Is this supposed to be the great conversation that we have? Like, after I get asked that question,
consider your mind blowing. I'm inflexible.
Telling me about like your aches and pains.
I'm inflexible through the hips, Avalon. If you think that I've used any other line to pick up a girl, I haven't. That's it. I just go up and I say, "Hey, I'm inflexible through the hips. What's your major?"
How would your friends describe you so I don't actually have to get to know you?
How would my friends describe me? Weird. That's what they'd say. They'd say weird and more mean-spirited than you would expect. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming by. It's lovely to see you again. You might be able to come again this month, correct?
Yes. Not next week, but probably the week after.
That's good. That's good. As it turns out, I phoned a lot of people in my phone book, so maybe they could have helped. Other people couldn't help, but we could probably draw some more out of you. Is this a Cosmo article? Honestly, I don't know, Holly. Let me check. It isn't. It's this is honest to God the website, theadultman.com.
Man. That sounds like an incel website.
I don't know. It's not good.
Yeah, just say this to females. It'll blow their mind.
Yeah. Big Drew says, as Rory's friend, I'd say he's not very flexible through the All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming out and helping us laugh. If you haven't picked up on it yet, all month I'm going to be doing more iterations of the horror story, and hopefully by the end of it, we will build out a whole mythos. Maybe we'll learn more. Maybe I'll be able to learn more about the person in the painting, or maybe we'll find some other figures of horror out there. We'll see how it goes. Is there anything you want to add, Avalon, before we go?
No, I don't think so. Just, thanks everyone for showing up and participating. It's always appreciated, and I hope you enjoyed it. And we're also happy to receive feedback or input about topics for future streams. So if you have ideas or things that you think it would be interesting for us to write about or talk about, let us know. We really appreciate the patronage and want to continue to deliver fun, interesting content.
Yeah, if you guys have literally any ideas to sort of expand our reach or things that you think work better or whatever else, always super helpful. It's such a glass ball trying to figure out what you should be doing. I mean, obviously we're going to be doing stuff we like, but if we can find more to be on the middle ground here. Anyways, thank you so much for coming by the shop today. It seems like it's a probably pretty nice night out there. It's not Halloween yet, so I don't think it's too crazy. So hopefully you have a nice time out there, and thanks so much for stopping by, but get the hell out.
Thanks, everyone.